If you're a book reader like me, and you like fantasy books like me, then you probably have read A Song of Ice and Fire. The Game of Thrones book series that the TV show made by HBO is actually based on. So, if you have read those books, you've been probably wondering, like me, when are we ever going to get The Winds of Winter so we can complete this story? The Winds of Winter was announced in around about 2010 when George R.R. Martin announced on his blog that 4 chapters of The Winds of Winter were complete, leading many to believe that the book was going to be coming very soon. Then in 2011, in another interview, he kind of started in a Spanish interview and he goes ahead and says, oh yeah, the book's coming in 2014, which basically meant everyone got pumped now. Everyone was getting excited. They're going to get to read a new book and get to see where this story goes. Then push forward to 2014. Oh, shock. We still don't have this book. And then it got worse when his publisher, Jane Johnson of HarperCollins, she basically told The Guardian that literally I have no information on the likely delivery of this book. Which basically at that point just got everyone, all emotional and thinking, we're not going to get this book, are we? And I'll be honest, I was one of them. Pushed to 2015 now, he told Access, he's like, oh yeah, I still have a lot of pages to write, but I also have a lot of pages that are already written. Which basically, was, in my opinion, was his way of saying, I'm nowhere near finished, but I have written some parts of this book. Then pushed to... a month later, he comes out and he tells Entertainment Weekly that the book's going to be coming in spring 2016. And if you're watching this video, you know that did not happen. Then we get to 2016 now. Obviously, no book came. And then he actually came out and he said, I'm going to set another deadline for myself to trip over. So at this point, you can clearly see that he knows that he's not going to make any of these deadlines, which to me says to me that he's got writer's block right now and he can't finish this book. And then we get to 2017 and he does it again. He comes out again with another deadline. He came out in 2017 and he was like, yeah, this is definitely going to be my year. I think it will be out this year. But hey, I thought the same thing last year. And that's what he wrote on his blog. And then apparently he started toying with his fans, writing on it, saying, I'm still working on it. I'm still months away. How many? Good question. I still have good days and bad days. That's all I care to say. Which says to me, that he's been having writers block with this book for a while, but it feels like he seems to be too proud to just come out and say it. And I think if he just came out and said, I got writer's block, which everyone, if you're a songwriter or a book writer, you write, you write in stories, songs are stories too. You write stories, you go through it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I think if he came out and just said, listen, I got writer's block, so it's going to take me time, and said there's going to be no deadline, I will give you more information when I finish writing it, I think a lot of people would have been off his back and he would have had the time, the peace of mind to just get on with writing his book. But instead, I think he's been putting more pressure on himself by continuously coming out and giving these deadlines that he should not be giving. So then we get to 2018 and it was announced that HBO had ordered a pilot for a Game of Thrones spin-off, that George R.R. Martin was going to be co-writing the pilot. Now, if you are aware, the House of the Dragon is based on the George R.R. Martin book, Fire and Blood. I have it myself. Very good book. Check it out if you can. If you search Game of Thrones books on Amazon, it usually comes up as the first book right now because of the TV show. But yeah, so it seems to me that when they're doing the House of the Dragon now, there's another opportunity for him to get distracted from reading to writing this book. And obviously he's now concentrating on writing this show, and there's another distraction in the way. So when it was announced that he was actually going to be involved in the writing process of House of the Dragon, he obviously a lot of, us and other Game of Thrones fans, getting a bit stressed out now, and he was like, work on Winds of Winter continues and remains my top priority. It's ridiculous to think otherwise. Ridiculous. And then 2020, now this is 10 years since he announced this book. So obviously this is during the pandemic. He came out and he basically said, during the pandemic, everyone's forced into isolation and I was trapped at home. If anything, being forced into isolation has helped me write. I'm spending long hours every day on Winds of Winter and making steady progress. I finished a new chapter yesterday and another one 3 days ago and another one the previous week. But no, this does not mean the book will be finally finished tomorrow or published next week. It's going to be a huge book and I still have a long way to go. Now, me personally, I have the edition of Lord of the Rings that's quite big. And if you own Fire and Blood, it is a very big book. you know, is quite thick. And from what it sounds to me is that he's working on a big one. So Winds of Winter's not going to be one of those small, you know, I don't know if you've read the Witcher novels. You know, the Witcher novels, they are modest size. They are quite easy to get through, but, you know, the Game of Thrones books, Lord of the Rings books, they can be quite big. And I think that's what he's really doing here. I think he's trying to work on, I think the Winds of Winter is going to be a real big book. And that's, I think he's hoping that, I'll get the Winds of Winter out, the first one. And because it's so big, the people will give me time to work on the next one. So apparently in June last year, so 2021, apparently he was downright incensed at the thought of being held accountable to all his missed deadlines. This is what he said on his blog. I'll make no predictions on when I will finish. Every time I do, arseholes on the internet take that as a promise and then wait eagerly to crucify me when I miss the deadline. All I want to say is that I'm hopeful. So first things first, I don't think he should be having a go at people on the internet. I think, well, if you miss your deadline and it's by, say, a year or two, that's one thing. But, you know, George is missing he's missed a 10-year deadline. That is a big deadline to start having a go at people. I mean, in my opinion, he shouldn't have just given any of those deadlines. He should have said it's finished when it's finished. This is what he said to IGN. If you don't know who IGN are, they basically, you know, the key website out there for everything video games, nerdy and geeky. They're the place to be. So definitely download their app and follow them on Twitter. This is what he said to IGN. I get that Winds of Winter, the 6th book, is late. I could get 100 good comments, but there are still a few fans who are going to remind me on my blog. I say happy Thanksgiving and they say, never mind happy Thanksgiving, where's the book? That's so true. It's like, I see the same in like sports teams posts, like say football or soccer. If Man United are like trying to sign a player, Manchester United trying to sign a player, and they tweet at anything that is nothing to do with signing a new player, the fans will be like, we don't care. When are you signing this guy? When are you signing that guy? He's like, I love the fans, although I do think Twitter and the internet and social media has brought out a viciousness I never saw in the old days. It's definitely true. I've got a nickname for them. A lot of people probably use this. It's called Keyboard Warriors. And I've seen it in action. People act in a certain way on the internet that they wouldn't normally act in real life. It's very sad. I never saw in the old days. Love and hate are very close, particularly with something like comic books or established franchises. If you can't take the heat, sir, why not finish the book? So also what he's come out and said, he's like, he can't promise that all the people that survive at the end of the TV show will make it out at the end of the book series. So from what I can tell, George is promising more deaths in Winds of Winter. I mean, that is one of the things I didn't like about TV shows or the books, is that, you know, anyone can literally die. And, you know, it's when you attach yourself to a character, them dying, you're like, no, man, don't kill them. I mean, a lot of people who had never read the books, I think, were so pissed off when they killed Ned on the TV show, you know, because Ned became a beloved character in the TV show real quickly. It was very hard not to like Ned Stark, and I think when you watch a program for so long, you get an attachment to characters. Losing them really irritates people. So I could see a lot of people maybe getting a bit irritated if they kill off some certain characters. So I guess we'll see. As far as the book is concerned, there's literally no timeline anywhere. I have searched up and down the internet to try and get an idea of when we eventually will see the book. There was one guy on Reddit. He believes that he has calculated when the book is going to be released. So this is coming from winteriscoming.net, and he believes that he's figured out the math until Winds of Winter is released. So as you can see here, it's got the release date of all the books that were released. And basically, on this map that he's figured out, so he has kind of come to the idea that Winds of Winter will be released in 2023, and that A Dream of Spring will come out in 2065 when George R.R. Martin is 117 years old. So that is just bloody ridiculous for a start. But yeah, it just goes to show you how far people are going to try and figure out when exactly are we going to get these books. The best I can say to you is, if you haven't read the books, go check them out. It's a good read. There's quite a few spin-off books from the main series of Game of Thrones. Like I said, you got you got Fire and Blood. You can go and check that out. And there's plenty more. If you're really into fantasy stuff and you've all sourced out all your stuff with the Game of Thrones, check the Lord of the Rings books out, The Hobbit. You got the Witcher series. There's loads of other ones that are not as famous as the rest that you can find. The thing I do is I just go on Amazon and I will search fantasy book series if that's what you want to read, and you can find so many by smaller authors that you've never heard of before, and are really good reads. But as usual, guys, thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, press like to like the video and subscribe, and let's all look forward to whenever we get Winds of Winter. See you guys.